I think I should be wired up. Yep, I am wired up. So first of all, welcome to the great debate. And I've been looking forward to this event for a long time because I thought I'll be able to sit up on that chair. And I was very disappointed because they said that I can't sit on that chair. Instead, I've got to sit on this little chair. And as you can see, I am very small. And the minute I sit down, no one can see me. So size does matter. You can go home now. So welcome to the great debate and to this beautiful chamber. And for those of you who can't get in, bad luck. This chamber is fascinating. As I was sitting here, now I know why politicians find it hard to make a decision. Because as I was sitting here, there were 6 clocks that are looking at me, and they all have different times. It's like a time warp. It's 7:30 here, 20 to 5 there. God knows what that one is. There's a man sitting up there. And I was terrified. I thought, this is like a trap. And also, I'm very wired up. I felt like a secret agent. Because you can't see I've got anything, but I'm totally wired. So if I feel a little bit stiff, it's because it's not my usual area of performance. I've never wanted to enter Parliament. I'm certainly not a politician. I'm just a mere educator. So to help us to do the debate tonight, I think it's important that we mention 10 years of the GPET training program. For those of you who were lucky enough to be in the debate that I moderate in 2004, it's called In 2020, we will all be doing it. John Buckley is doing it. Cameron Loy is doing it. James Brown is doing it. Stephen Campbell is doing it. Sarah Twiddle, Nee Ferguson, don't know whether she's doing it. She's doing it somewhere. And then one more is Helen Musk, and she is no longer doing it. So after all this time, it's amazing how many of us are still doing it, including myself, always involved in GPET and training program. 17 regional training programs, all various sizes. Size, does it matter? I'm not sure. GP Super Clinic, Medicare Locals, bigger and better. Is that right? For someone who knows a lot about the size, they are going to be the affirmative. And to help us to look at this debate, I'm going to introduce the speakers of the affirmative and to argue that in GP training, size does matter. We've got Dr. Nam Tran. Would you like to stand up and just look at the audience so we know what you look like? He's already standing up. Okay, you can sit down. And the second speaker of the affirmative is Stephen Myers. And the third and last speaker is Dr. Eva Pierco. And notice that she is the captain. Now, for the negative, who have we got arguing against that? In GP training, size does not matter. The first speaker is Ed Polones, my old friend. And Dr. Michael Wilson, the second speaker. And the third, the tallest, Genevieve Yates. And she is also the captain. Note the gender of the two captains. And the moderator. Size might not matter, but gender might. You never know, you never know. So to help us to start, can I introduce the first speaker? Nam, you can come up and take your spot. Nam's got a very interesting CV. He's actually quite scary. He's a GP from Brisbane Southwest, hospital liaison officer, and an accidental medical educator at CSQTC. And I don't want to pronounce it because it will take a minute just to do that. And I've only got a very short time. Nam is also, that's when the scary bit, he's an Australian Army Reserve medical officer. He loves pets, gentleman, fitness and traveling, and he hates politics, not in this room, Nam, not in this room. Politics, carbon tax, and sleep deprivation. Nam is infamous for his multiple personalities, even more scary. Multiple personalities, my goodness. And he continued to baffle psychiatrists, but not GPs. I'm sure we'll get a diagnosis for sure. Eating disorders, he eats everything. I hope it's not cannibalism. And animated educational presentations when adequately caffeinated. So Nam, introduce the first speaker on the affirmative. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to argue that in GP training, size matters. But before I go on, I'm just going to start and say, who better to argue about size matters than me? You're looking at someone who, for most of his life, has been 5'5" and barely weighs 60 kilograms. All my life, size matters. And my fellow hobbit, Edward Polinus, knows what I'm talking about here. Now, when I was in my teen years, my mum was still buying clothes from Pumpkin Patch. When I go to the show day, I still can't get onto the Dobson cars because they think I'm 6. So, size does matter, and in general practice, we know size does matter. Where else can we look where size matters than in Mother Nature herself? Now, these aren't just porcelain jugs, ladies and gentlemen, and if the male members of the opposing team could kindly pick up their jaws as they leave the room. Size does matter in nature. And certainly men, we more than know that size matters, particularly when we're sitting in a urinal with other men. And going beyond Mother Nature, beyond our earthly boundaries, size does matter to a little rock in the far distant reaches of our solar system that used to have the status of Pluto, of planet. Now back to general practice training. First of all, I just want to say that when I was going through primary school, my primary school teacher taught me that there were only 8 states and territories. And somewhere along the way between then and entering general practice training, did I realise someone had added on another 14. And, now, oddly enough, these 22 territories and states, or whatever they're called, were named after very obscure things. I mean, could they have been named after someone's pet? You're looking at Wagpet and Felix. And one particular very small RTP still can't decide where it wants to be. Case in point, city, coast, country. So certainly with general practice training, we want to say that there's a lot of merging going around. There's a lot of talk about size, getting bigger, more funding, more registrars, everything merging, becoming bigger. And I want to say that ultimately, where are we going to end up? One big RTP under one red flag. And on that final note, I do want to make mention of one important person within my own RTP who is all about size. He's got a great personality, a great heart, and he looks fantastic in drag. Thank you, John.
Thank you. To argue for against, in GP training, size does not matter. We, of course, had the famous Ed Polinus. We know Ed very well. Ed has been worked all these years. He's been a very regular attendant of the GP training program, and he's sub-dean at the moment of the St. Vincent's Clinical School at the University of Melbourne. And he's interesting. He moonlights. It's very suspicious, his CV. He moonlights as a medical educator and doing external clinical visit for Bogon and any other RTPs that will have him. He looks quite sad, isn't he? And he has worked for the World Health Organization. indigenous communities, and as a doctor for the Olympics. He's done everything, and he's only just a kid. And Ed now works at the Aboriginal Health Service and a health service for the homeless. He's a wandering sort of person, and he's father of 2 boys, and it's not surprising that he's a proud Essendon supporter.
I think it's there. Good help. Things that matter in general practice training. Quality. Enthusiastic and informed supervisors. Challenged and supported registrars matter in general practice training. Flexible and innovative and grounded medical educators matter in general practice training. Fabulous administrative and support staff matter in general practice training. Adequate allocation of funding and resources in a timely and transparent manner matter in general practice training. Relationship building and trust matters in general practice training. Clear college curricula and training options which develop a lifelong learner matters in general practice training. Balance and innovation matter in general practice training. Teamwork matters in general practice training, which is why I'm very happy to share the stage tonight with Professor Michael Wilson and Genevieve Yates. Persistence, flexibility and a gutsy determination to achieve despite the ridiculous rules put forward by government or funding bodies matter in general practice training, which is why I'm pleased to share the stage tonight with Eva, Stephen and Nam, who, like many others before them, have been set a ridiculous task by GPET. But I expect them to show the qualities that matter in general practice training. Ladies and gentlemen, unlike other things that I've mentioned, size does not matter in general practice training. Good. Size doesn't matter in general practice training, that's why we're here. At a GPET convention, we don't care about size. We don't care if the presentation is by a CEO of an organisation, by a registrar, or by a member of an Indigenous community who may be presenting the work they've done in teaching our registrars and helping them in cross-cultural work. And Michael Wilson will speak more about this. We don't care anything about size, regardless of size, shape, body odour, or musical talent. In fact, which brings me on the bell to Doris. I caught the plane up with Doris this afternoon and she told me I could have some extra time if I summarised by singing. So, on the plane I put this together. If it's size that matters most in GP training, I can see a great new future in our stars. What with fusions, unions, mergers, acquisitions, we'll forget all about training registrars. If we start by joining WAGPET to Tasmania, throw in Valley, Coast and City and Country, annex CSQTC, invade the North Coast, we'll have something half the size of Beyond ME. Roll them in together, add Tropical Med Training, swallow Bogong and the NTGPE. Merge with Southern, add Sturt, Fluorio and Wentwest, and I think we'll start to feel some synergy. Finally, we'd fuse ATO and Queensland MedEd. We would dominate GP training in our land. We'd be big and bold and fabulous and massive. Who cares if all our training is quite bland? But what if we really wanted quality and excellence, and we didn't care if things were big or small, or even middle-sized, or wiggly, or misshapen? Top-class training might be offered by us all. And we'd come together at meetings just like this one, share our ideas, our successes and mistakes, organise collaborations, discuss research, and listen to some pretty dull debates. Thank you.